2022 is incorrect, as we have seen from news story after news story about children, teens, and adults being affected by these synthetic products that are sold at over 2,000 stores throughout our state. I believe the intent of the 2018 United States Farm Bill and the 2022 Louisiana law that was discussed in this video clip were to allow hemp products to be sold. There are legitimate uses for hemp products, from biofuels to plastics, from fiber to food, and building materials. I have no objection to those products. It is the intoxicating, synthetic, lab-created products with THC that my bill focuses on. Today, I brought with me a variety of these products. I brought with me Crescent Lemonade THC Seltzer, which has 50 milligrams per bottle. I remind you that 5 milligrams get you high. Brought with me Twerps, which have 100 milligrams per container and clearly are marketed to children. I brought with me THC Products Gummies, which has 3,750 milligrams of THC in 30 gummies. I brought with me Delta 8 gummies, which have 25 milligrams of THC per gummy. Again, marketed to kids. I have severe concerns about the way that this legislation came into action in 2022. And I have even more concerns about the way that actors in this space have behaved with these products. Today I have with me 3 people that are going to testify. Joey Jones, who is the director of the North Louisiana Crime Lab, who's going to testify regarding what's in these products. I also have Brandy Price Klingman, the CEO of St. Christopher Wellness, regarding the effects of these products on individuals and the psychosis that she's treated and her clinic has treated in children because of these products. And I brought with me Gene Mills with the Family Forum regarding the public policy effects of these products. With that, I will yield the table to Joey Jones to start us off. Thank you.
Before you begin with the witnesses, Rep. Horton, did you request to speak?
Did. As being someone that was here and whose voting record depends on the speaker, the person who presents the bill's honesty and integrity, knowing that we were fugaboo, so to speak, when I found this out, was absolutely horrified. I'm so glad that you're bringing this bill so we can right a wrong that was inflicted upon every legislator that voted for that bill because of the answers to that question. At the appropriate time, I want to move favorably, and so we can right a wrong that we unfortunately created.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Horton. Rep. Walters?
Thank you, Chair. Senator Presley, the products that you have before you, where did you get them from?
All of these products were bought in Louisiana stores.
Okay, and are those like the approved stores? Like, I mean, I've tried to do my due diligence on your bill, so I printed off the hemp grower list, every list I could.
There are over 2,000 stores where these products are being sold, and these were picked up and purchased at various stores.
Okay, and question, I see we want to go from 0.3% of the total THC to a concentration of 0%.
Yeah, so the percentage, the way they do that is the weight of like a gummy. It's the weight of the gummy compared with the weight of the THC. And I believe that Joey Jones, the director of the North Louisiana Crime Lab, who I'm sure you know, being from Shreveport, will be able to testify a little bit more in depth on that issue.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute, I'm trying to make sure I covered all of
Sure.
my questions. Oh, okay, and if you follow me to page 4, lines 17 through 21, and this deals with the application for registration. So now companies will need a notarized verification for that product And then if you follow me to line 20 and 21, they have to have a copy of the independent laboratories license and certificate of accreditation. So they need 3 more pieces of paperwork than what they would ordinarily need.
Yeah, it's changing the law.
Okay. Do we have unaccredited independent laboratories in Louisiana? Since they have to have an accreditation, a certificate of accreditation.
I don't have the answer to that off the top of my head. I'm happy to get a response for you.
Okay, and my last question is, what is hemp floral material?
I'm sorry?
Hemp floral material?
Floral material is the actual what you think of as it's the floral product. It's what you would it's the smokable material.
Okay. I'm not in the sciences, and I thought that maybe this bill would be referred to health and welfare, not criminal justice. So thank you for enlightening me.
It's dealing with getting rid of a product that has been certainly in the criminal space, as Mr. Jones will talk about, and as Ms. Klingman will talk about as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Knox requesting to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Presley, good morning to you.
Good morning, Representative.
Real quick, I'm kind of a little confused and just want a little clarity, and I may get it when the other speakers speak. In regards to what my colleague, Representative Horton, indicated as it relates to the video you showed, is this bill primarily an attempt to correct something that the speaker told 105 people who should be reading the bill anyway?
Well, respectfully, as you know, the important part of asking questions and the question and answer sessions that we have in the legislature, both in this committee as well as on the floor of the House, is for the member to be able to speak truthfully and honestly at the well. We do so, and our word and our integrity are what matter in this body. And I believe that the question that you heard from my seatmate at the time, as you know, when I sat right in front of you, Representative Thomas, was very direct on whether or not an individual could get high on these products. And we don't have all the knowledge in the world on a variety of issues. As you know, we have over 1,000 bills that are brought up every year that are debated in this body. And it's important for the author to be able to be truthful or bring people that can share more information on those subject matter. But the truth in this case is that Speaker Schexnayder very clearly stated that individuals could not get high on these products without tractor-trailer loads of the product being ingested. And the truth is that, as you've seen from the products that I've shown you today, and I'm sure you've heard about, 50 milligrams of THC is 10 times what's necessary to get high in the state. 25 milligrams.
I don't want you to take up all my time. I just wanted to get to that. And I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate Representative Horton and her thinking that the speaker was giving correct information. And
incorrect information.
Incorrect information, and I get it and I understand that, because sometimes you find out stuff later. You, as a perfect example, I voted for your bill last week as it related to pills and found some stuff out later, but that's on me. That's on me. I'm not going to expect a bill to come to rewrite something that was popular at the time, and then now we have new politics that has now changed. So I can appreciate that. Let me finish. Let me finish, please.
Yes,
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
The 0.3% to 0% is the intent to get rid of an entire industry?
The intent is to get rid of the intoxicating synthetic materials that are being put into products. It's not to get rid of an industry. As I've stated in my opening, there are many products that are legitimate products that hemp is important for, and CBD would continue to be allowed.
Thank
but
you.
regarding your comments to me about my prior bill, I did not make any misstatements on my prior bill, and you'll have the opportunity to hear more about that and on the floor as it goes forward.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Rep. Knox. Senator, I do not have cards, I believe, for the 2 individuals who are prepared to testify. Did y'all fill out cards?
We did. We did.
Okay, if you could go ahead, that's fine. If you could go ahead, whoever wants to go first and state your name.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of this committee. My name is Joseph Jones, and I serve as the System Director for the North Louisiana Crime Lab in the northern part of the state. Additionally, I also, like you, wear multiple hats. I'm a forensic toxicologist, and I'm also an academic researcher, and I study products like these that are on the table here today. To me, and I think for simplicity's sake, this is the equivalent to me of going to your local neighborhood market because you want a soft drink. And you have products that you know that you choose, and those products have been regulated well. You know how much the calories are, you know how much the caffeine content is. However, next to them, you also have a product that is not regulated at all. And because of that, it becomes very, very concerning for us. What we have found is that with these products, through testing, through actual evidence-based research and peer-reviewed publications, these products vary significantly. The difference we find is when you test one soft drink, for example, to the others. There is from one batch to the next changes. This is the state of this industry, and if you don't believe me, I'd ask you to consider this peer-reviewed, published study as an example that's available on the National Safety Council's Alcohol, Drug, and Impaired Driving website. In this paper, a consumer experienced intense hallucinations for hours from a single honey stick. This honey stick purported to contain 45 milligrams of Delta-8. However, when my colleague tested this at her laboratory, she found a staggering 631 milligrams of Delta-8 THC, plus an additional 204 milligrams of Delta-9 THC in a honey stick. This product was inaccurately sold as being hemp derived, which is not misleading but also dangerous. In order to create this honey stick, by the math, you would need 14 pounds of hemp with 1% Delta-8 in order to make this. This is likely instead lab created. And as we've learned, words matter, especially when we use the term hemp derived. We were told that any product must be naturally occurring, it must be man-made, or that man-made and synthetically made products are illegal. And yet the techniques used to create that honey stick is clearly not natural. These deficiencies have caused me to support Senator Presley's bill, so much so that even during the last administration, your Drug Policy Board drafted a resolution saying we have deep concerns with this industry. These deficiencies, I can attest after being a toxicologist for 16 years, what I have learned in researching cannabis use, it's highly individualistic. And for anyone to stand up and say that this dose will not get you high, in my field is unethical.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, let me ask you if you can clarify for me. There's no limit on the number of servings in a unit or package currently. Is that correct?
It's my understanding.
And there's no limit on the amount of THC in a unit or package, as I understand. Is that correct?
That's what I understand as well.
And there's no limit on the amount of THC that can be purchased, as I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there's no restrictions on where THC products may be sold. Is that correct?
That is correct.
No requirement to use Louisiana hemp to make these products, right?
No requirement.
No requirement to make the products in Louisiana, correct?
You are correct.
No requirement to test the products in Louisiana, correct?
You are correct.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you for being here. Rep. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're a toxicologist.
Correct.
Okay. In that video, my roommate and colleague, Dr. Thomas, reads every line to every bill like many of us. But like now Senator Presley will say, it was so complicated, you'd have had to be a toxicologist to be able to figure out exactly what the bill said. And even then, it was obscured and it was purposely difficult. So that's why the question was asked, I'd like to point out, because none of us, unless you were even a toxicologist, could have figured that out. That is definitely not what my line of work was. And so when you do ask a question, it's because even someone with a doctorate degree could not figure out what it was saying. And that's why we asked that question. So thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Rep. Horton. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Horton, for that clarification. And I do agree with you in that respect. I don't think the speaker was a toxicologist either, so he didn't even understand his own bill. But I'm not here to defend him. Certainly, I'm not here to defend him. To your point, Representative or Senator Presley, I didn't direct my comment to you about misspeaking. I directed it to the bill and the testimony that was given. I'm not someone who has a subject matter expertise in abortion. I relied on your testimony and that of which those who were at the table, and I found some things out later. That's neither here nor there at this point. What I'm getting to today is, Mr. Jones, how is this any different, meaning the high that one gets? How is the high that one gets different from this product than alcohol or any other thing? Because my concern is, once we go down this road, where's it going to stop? My understanding is that simple regulation could put this whole thing to rest. And I think there's a bill already in play to do just that. And when we talk about advertising things to kids, I, for one, am opposed to it. I wouldn't want children to have easy access to something of a beverage like what is at the table so that they can get high. My colleague testified not that long ago about a team that he manages, a sports team, and these kids were drinking or taking these products, and when they got drug tested, they lost scholarships. So for me, that is a real, true concern. But nevertheless, what you're proposing and what is being proposed today can be simply fixed by regulating it. So my first question, how is this any different of a high than any other product that is not being regulated today?
Representative Knox, I genuinely appreciate the question. I rarely get asked that. In forensic toxicology and in pharmacology, we have an adage that it is the dose that makes the poison. And with all substances, as you increase the dose, as far up as 88, 90, 95%, the greater propensity it is to have an effect on the user. The difference with this is that it is something that has very little longitudinal research done. This is something that was always prevalent in very small percentages within the cannabis plant. Now we see it at incredibly high percentages, and we don't have medical data to go to know about its long-term effects, its use. And regardless, the users have reported that while it might not feel as potent, it's potent. So if I need to increase it, I increase it.
Thank you. Is that something that can be regulated?
Absolutely.
So why aren't you taking a position where we can regulate the amount or the dosage?
Thank you, Rep. Knox. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Rep. Walters requesting to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Jones, can you elaborate more on Delta 8 versus Delta 9? I have read what I could in the last 24 hours, but I'm just trying to get an understanding.
The best way I can explain it is the chemical structures are almost identical. It's just simply a double bond shift. And that is alone the difference. If I were to weigh these on a scale, they weigh the exact same. It's just a slight alteration to the chemical structure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Chair Bacala.
Thank you. First of all, just to speak to the passage of the bill that allowed this to happen, it was an agricultural bill. Rep. Presley, or Senator Presley, I apologize. In other states that have legalized the retail sale of THC, I think the process that they went through was much more intense and focused, correct?
That's my understanding.
I give an example. I think Amendment 64 in 2012 in Colorado, which kind of started this trend, was actually put to the vote of the people to make that decision, and it passed like 55 to 45 or something like that. But it was a thoughtful process, a thorough debate about whether or not they would legalize recreational marijuana. Is that correct?
Yes,
that your
that's my
understanding?
understanding
And
as
other
well.
states have done the same. They've had thoughtful discussions and bills specific to recreational, commercial, whatever. Correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. And some states, including Virginia, for example, have gone back and changed their law after realizing some of the public policy challenges that have gone into place.
And also,
from passing
I
something.
think in other states that have gone down this path, they've also put in special tax structures such that THC products were taxed differently than M&Ms.
That's my understanding as well.
And here in Louisiana, did we have a thoughtful discussion about whether we wanted to legalize the effective dosage levels that people could feel? Did we have that debate?
No, I mean the debate was pretty much cut off by the
We have a
speaker telling us
debate.
that
Did
there
we
was
have a debate
no
about
ability to get high.
how it was going to be taxed?
Not that I recall.
Did we have debates about how the tax money would be spent?
Not on this issue.
So in reality, we never actually, as a legislature, made a thoughtful, and you could say we got the wool pulled over our eyes, however you want to describe it, but regardless, we never had a thoughtful discussion about whether the legalization of recreational THC is something we were for or against, correct?
That's how I see it, yes.
And even if you compare it to alcohol, which, listen, I'm not much of a drinker either, but even with alcohol, there's excise taxes, right? There's all kind of additional taxes beyond the M&M sales tax.
Absolutely. More taxes, more regulation, and a system that's been set up for over 100 years now.
Correct. And, I mean, you have to have a special permit to sell, right? Not just, the law doesn't say put it behind the counter out of reach.
Correct.
Okay, I think I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bacala. I don't have any more members with questions of Mr. Jones or the senator right now who haven't spoken already. And your next witness would...
Go ahead. Introduce yourself first.
Hi, I'm Brandy Klingman. I am a clinical therapist and a treatment center owner in Louisiana. I would like to say first, I am a provider of treatment in Louisiana. I serve over 10,000 patients in this state, both inpatient and outpatient. And also, I am a mother. So I see this coming down the line, and I've seen it over the last 15 years or so coming. And I want to give a little bit of an explanation of what I've seen. So about 15 years ago, we saw a tidal wave of consequences related to synthetic marijuana on the streets and accessible in gas stations sold to young populations. It's particularly marketed towards the youth and impoverished populations. And so we saw a tidal wave of mental health issues, particularly psychosis, suicidality, severe depression, and anxiety disorders related to these kids using at early ages. Over the past several years, we have seen an influx of this again with Delta 8, specifically in gas stations and accessible to the youth. With the limited regulations around this, people are falsely believing that this is a safe, consumable product. I hear all the time from kids everywhere that this is God's meds, that it's safe. If it's easy to get, it's safe for them to consume. And what they're doing is they're consuming it in kid ways. Kids make dumb decisions. I don't know if you were ever a kid, but I was, and I made all kinds of dumb decisions. And thank God we didn't have this back then, because I could have easily been susceptible to this consequence. But the sad, sad side effect that I have seen is a tidal wave of psychosis in Louisiana. Your emergency department visits are up. Your suicide rates are up. Your overdose rates on other medications. Even where there are drugs, there is fentanyl, just so you know. And there are people out trying to get our youth. And this is what they're doing. They're going through mechanisms like this Delta 8 gummies and the nerd clusters. This is not marketed to sophisticated people who know what they're doing. This is marketed to your youth. And what I see, unfortunately, if any of your family members need treatment, you're going to call me and you're going to flex your muscles and say who you are and your representative and your title and your fancy degrees. And I'm happy to help you as I'm happy to help anyone. But it's going to be me that you call. And your kid will be in great danger. And we'll have to use heavy heavy medications, heavy antipsychotics, injectable, long-lasting medications. The pharmacies are having to come out with medications that last 6 months to 1 year in an injectable form to keep your kid from hallucinating and delusional off the streets. I'm going to tell you a story about a young mother that I knew from Virginia. It's interesting that you brought up that state, who lost both sons.
Sorry, we have the 3-minute rule, Ms. Klingman, and we don't deviate on any bill. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it Ms. Clemens or
Yes.
Dr. Clemens?
Ms. Klingman's.
Ms. Clemens, I totally agree with everything you just said.
Thank you.
Literally everything you just said, and I'm in full agreement with it. I don't want this type of product particularly marketed to kids. And the point that you made about low income, I would add to that there's usually low income children of color that these type products are marketed to. I don't know if there's some other agenda behind it, but I totally agree with you. One way to address that, in my humble opinion, is through regulation, just like you do with everything else. I'm interested to know that as someone who treats mental illness, as you referenced, I am a veteran, and I suffer from PTSD as a result of combat. And what I know to be true is hemp is a product that many veterans, even the VA, is now studying and recommending as something to address that serious concern among the veteran population. What's your view and position on veterans who suffer with PTSD, who do not want to use typical medication, who find hemp and other forms of cannabis as a form of treatment?
Thank you so much for adding that. That's so true that many people, including some people in my own family, utilize THC as a form of treatment for mental health disorders. While there is limited research supporting that, and I would love to see more in the future, research, actual published papers and medical journals come out around that, right now we are limited. But I would say to those people, go to a provider, a medical provider, go to a pharmacy and get that medication in that way, not a gas station, not Delta 8, not marketed and sold over the counter.
I agree. It shouldn't be a gas station or any Delta 8 or anything else for that matter, but the VA had tons of study as it relates to their findings with hemp and THC. Not only does the VA has it, but I think other medical journals has it also. So I'm perplexed as to you not knowing about it, but I would appreciate if you could comment more. Have you ever witnessed a veteran in particular who is opposed to these products being made available without going through a pharmacist?
Thank you for asking. Yes, my own brother. He came back after spending years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he was suffering with severe PTSD, and he was, prior to going to the military, a marijuana smoker. When he came back, he said, I'm going to do Delta 8. It is safe. It's for me. And he ended up in a complete psychotic state. I had to put him in a hospital. Now, he does smoke medical marijuana now, and there is a difference, and I am supportive of whatever he decides. But in this situation, an unregulated medication sold over the counters is very unsafe.
I totally agree. That's why I think we should be regulating it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Rep. Walters.
Thank you, Chair. I'm over here struggling a little bit, but also, again, still trying to do my own research. So when we talk about going from the 0.3% to the 0%, basically that's killing an industry. And in terms of taxes, I saw that Louisiana had $70 million worth of tax in the last 4 years because of I guess the legalization of hemp. So what I'm struggling with is, okay, if we go from 0.3 to 0, meaning that all of what you have there is outlawed. I tried to see if I could get it on Amazon, and a few of those are available on Amazon, which means the taxes would go to somewhere else, not Louisiana. So do we have a plan to replace that funding in any way if this bill moves forward?
Look, there's a cost to items that we work on every day. And your number and my number are very different on this. What I saw was $4 million last year, and something like 80,000 4 years ago was brought in tax dollar wise that's related to these products. As you know, we have almost a $50 billion budget, which, you know, there are side effects, there are costs that go along with the treatment that goes to ERs that oftentimes you and I, as allocators of dollars, are spending tax dollars and the tax dollars of the hardworking people of Louisiana to pay those additional costs. So I would make the argument, and I could have a study done, if we'd like to have a study done, looking into the amount of money that's spent on those hospital visits by the state, and the additional costs that go into making sure that we're doing this right. On the regulation side, as has been mentioned, there is a regulation process in Louisiana of a product that has THC in it, and that's the medical marijuana program. It's highly regulated. It was very expensive to set up, and we are continuing to have those costs that go into it. And respectfully, that one is incredibly regimented and regulated, and a lot of the rationale and the thought behind doing this is that, oh, well, it's cheaper. Well, there's a cost in the regulation process. There's a cost in making sure that the people of Louisiana are safe, and the products, we know what's in the products, as Mr. Jones stated. It's very important to know what those products are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Walters. Thank you, Senator. Senator, the board's clear. You want to tell me who your next witnesses are?
Yes, I have Gene Mills with the Family Forum as the next witness.
Good morning, Mr. Mills.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Gene Mills, President of Louisiana Family Forum. Our vision is to build a Louisiana where God is honored, life is respected, families flourish, and liberty reigns. And we believe the matter before you today deals with the flourishing of families and its impact upon children and breadwinners. And we're deeply concerned and troubled by an idea that recreational THC could impact negatively Louisiana families. Several years ago, lawmakers grappled with whether medical marijuana, and I agree with Senator Presley, that is the regulation that we talk about today, both in terms of content, in terms of processes, in terms of oversight, and in terms of authentic credibility, whether medical marijuana should be codified into Louisiana law. The conclusion was, if regulated, if limited in scope, if overseen with integrity, and administered by physicians, I'd like to underscore that, administered by physicians, it could prove beneficial for treatment of certain maladies. Keep in mind that THC at certain levels is mind-altering and dangerous. And I've brought an edibles dosing chart that I'd like to introduce into the record and make available to each of the members if you'd like to see just how little it takes to actually be impacted in certain capacities in terms of mind-altering and dangerous behavior. It is not relevant as to whether or not the THC is derived from hemp or marijuana. But THC consumables were ushered in virtually unregulated, without consideration of danger, and unlike medical marijuana, administered by a clerk at a gas station, convenience store, or a smoke shop. Health risks are a major consumer safety issue, posing dangers greater than the vape crisis of 2019. And I saw my good friend, Representative Wiley, former sheriff in Ascension, the Kratom crisis just a few years ago. For example, a St. Landry Parish dad found his underage son unconscious after he consumed THC gummies bought at a gas station. Baton Rouge and New Orleans schools are investigating incidences of THC edibles during class time. A Baton Rouge woman was admitted to the ER after being sold a Slurpee with 100 milligrams of hemp THC by a smoke shop located just off the LSU campus. I was curious and so acquired one of these. This little bottle, which looks like a shot bottle that you might get 5-hour or 8-hour energy from, has over 30 doses in it. If I gave you an eyedropper and a teaspoon, you probably would require the remainder of the day to determine 30 individual doses in this one bottle. A kid's not going to do this in eyedropper full or droplets. The author of the original hemp bill and the entrepreneurs assured us that we wouldn't get high on this. It wouldn't impact our drivers, our workers' comp, our industry. All of that can be impacted. I respectfully request you move favorably on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mills, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
and your opening remarks. I totally agree with all of them. And I want you to know that, and I receive and process every word. I also agree with you as it relates to advertising this to the younger population. I think it's actually disgusting. And it's more disgusting for me on a personal level because the inclination is to always do it to communities of color in those gas stations. So I am for it wholeheartedly. In your statements, I think you referenced at least 3 times regulation, and it seems as though you and I may be on the same page of that as well, because rather than killing an entire industry, I think we should put regulation in so that they're not marketed to these gas stations in communities of color, poor communities, so they're not marketing to kids who are playing sports and they go get tested for scholarships to go to college and then they pop positive on the drug test, so that we have a proper amount of regulation in place to put this thing in its proper context. I agree with you on that. The other thing that I think you and I may agree with, that we're not talking about outlawing an alcohol industry, right?
No.
No, we're not, because that's heavily regulated, correct?
Correct.
So it seems
also
to me,
passed into law
it seems
through
to me
due
we're on the
process.
same page with that, and I appreciate you on standing that ground. I also want to put out for the record that cannabis and THC, to my recollection, has been debated here at this state capitol. Do you agree?
Not quite in the manner in which you're contextualizing it. We were told truckloads.
What manner
would
are
be
you talking
taken.
about, sir?
We were told it would take truckloads to get you high. This
Okay.
is not a truckload.
Thank you
It may
for
have
that.
taken a truckload to produce it.
We recognize that the previous speaker lied to everybody, and that he
I would
was
go
not a
further as to
toxicologist.
say regulation exists. It's called medical marijuana, and it's under a physician's directive. You don't need to create that. You did.
As
You
it
did
relates-
argue that effectively.
I appreciate that. As it relates to this bill, I think you said 3 times, regulation.
To which I would remind you it exists. And I also appreciate your service in the military. I have a son
Thank
that's
you. I
special
appreciate hearing
forces,
that. Thank you so much. How much time I have left, Madam Chair? 40 seconds. Mr. Mills, I want to let you know that I appreciate the work that you do in your organization, and that I hope you continue to stand on the ground that rather than killing the entire industry, we bring the appropriate regulations so that communities of color are not impacted by this dangerous dose of THC. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
And I respectfully receive that. I would simply echo that the best regulation is elimination of this illegitimate industry and the use of a legitimate medical marijuana industry. And if we are going to bring recreational to the counter and to every place has a cash register, we need to do it with a little more circumvention and thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Thank you, Rep. Knox. The board is clear for Mr. Mills. Senator, did you have another witness?
Those are all the witnesses that I had prepared.
Okay. We have one witness with a green card who is present and would like to speak, since we have only had 3 witnesses by the senator. Dr. Will Hall has requested to speak. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman and members. Dr. Will Hall. I'm the Director for the Office of Public Policy for the Louisiana Baptist Convention. I represent about 1,550 congregations in the state, a little over 400,000 baptized adults. And I had a testimony prepared, but I'd really like to answer some questions that were raised. And Senator Knox, I think that you have raised the issue of regulation.
He gave you a promotion, Rep. Knox.
I'm sorry. I don't typically like to speak off the cuff, but regarding regulation of THC, there's a difference between regulating the industry and regulating THC. THC is not the industry. THC is a product. The industry has the opportunity to produce construction products, fibers, fabrics, and other materials. They also have the ability to extract cannabinoids, CBDs, tinctures, oils, etc., from the hemp. So it's not going to shut down the industry. What it will shut down is this poison that's coming into our communities. I'm a veteran too. I flew the SH-60 Armed Naval helicopter for the Navy. I also did analysis at the Pentagon and fleet levels and such. And I have background, my educational background is research. And so you raised an issue about the VA, and I just went on the VA website. I'm sorry, if give me just a minute. But the VA absolutely resists marijuana for the treatment of PTSD. Off the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, well, I lost my place. But essentially it said that it does not recommend marijuana for treatment of PTSD. And I believe it was based on this study, which was conducted by Yale, where they looked at 2,276 veterans who were treating themselves with marijuana, and they had severe PTSD. I'm just going to read one sentence, and I'll provide this for the committee if they'd like to look at it. After adjusting for relevant baseline covariates, marijuana was significantly associated with worse outcomes and PTSD symptom severity in violent behavior and in alcohol and drug use. And there's another study out that showed that they thought they'd be able to use marijuana to help bring veterans off of addictions to opioids, and what they found out is it increased their use of opioids. Medical marijuana fails to improve systems and doubles the risk of addiction. That's a Massachusetts General Hospital study. Another study that was just done by and released by the NIH, it increases heart attacks and strokes.
Thank you.
We need to be wise about moving forward on this.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. Rep. Knox requesting to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Hall, thank you for your service. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your comments, to which I tend to agree. I don't know what study you're referring to where the VA strongly is against treating marijuana or treating PTSD with marijuana. That could be the case. That could not be the case. I would appreciate it if you can show me that. When I did the Google search, it referenced the National Center, not the VA, for PTSD and marijuana. But if you have a study that the VA has that says it's not in support of cannabis, marijuana, or THC as a form of treatment, then I totally look forward to reading that. What I do know is many veterans like myself who suffer with PTSD, particularly combat PTSD, find better comfort in taking THC, cannabis, marijuana as a form of treatment for that mental illness, whether it's prescribed or not. But I welcome that study that you have from the VA that says that, so that I can have it for my own edification. Is it your position that you don't know of any veterans who are satisfied with the treatment of cannabis for PTSD?
For the veterans I've talked to, it's a mixed result.
Okay.
There's some that use it, and I don't know how to explain why they use it, because it is obvious that they have exacerbated their situations.
Mm-hmm.
Others that I've talked to have remarked that they quit marijuana because it exacerbated their PTSD symptoms. And so I don't know how to answer that, Representative Knox. But when a school like Yale, who's not a bastion of conservatism, does a study on 2,276 veterans, and they conclude it's bad for them, I'm going to listen.
Yeah, if you could show me that study, I certainly would appreciate it, because all the veteran groups I've been in have no aversion to cannabis, hemp, or THC as a form of treatment. So I look forward to reading what you have. As it relates to the regulation of this product, are you saying that there should be regulation, or that this product should be totally banned? Because you referenced me, I'm for regulating it on both sides, the product and the industry. And is it your view or your position that only one side should be regulated?
No, I think the regulation should be that THC should not be allowed in consumable products. That's the regulation that I recommend. We're looking at a product that in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the early 90s, was on average, when a pot product was seized by law enforcement, had about 1.5% on average THC. Now the baseline is 10%, and we know that fries the white matter in the brain as well as reducing the gray matter in the brain. So it 20, 30, 60% THC, it's unknown right now what the long-term effects are.
Thank you, Dr.
you,
Hull.
Doctor.
Thank you, Rep. Knox. Rep. Walters.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to go on record and correct my statement earlier. I was in the wrong portion of the hemp industry, and so I just want to be clear that potentially Louisiana would lose 3 to 4 million. And again, I was in the wrong portion because we are talking about consumable hemp products. We're talking about consumable hemp products, and at the appropriate time, I would like to call up state police to provide information. Thank you.
Representative Walters, may I make one statement? You're looking at $4 million on one side of the ledger, but you're not looking at the cost on the other side of the ledger. And when you look at a profit, when you're a company, you have to look at a profit loss statement and balance. Is the $4 million costing you more than $4 million? And that's what I recommend that you look at, because I know it is costing you more.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have 28 green cards in support. Not wishing to speak, Mike Renatza, Executive Director of the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, Gary Bennett, Assistant Director of the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, Ashley McReynolds with ARC of Louisiana, Brian Hengins with Lafayette ARC, Michael Latino with ARC Hammond, Jay O'Quinn with the Louisiana State Troopers Association, Hack Willis with the Louisiana State Troopers Association, Destiny Dixon with Capital Wellness Solutions, Kristen Powers with the ARC of Caddo Parish, Victoria Bryant, the ARC of St. Charles, Kelly Monroe, the ARC of Louisiana, J.P. Sespard, ARC of Baton Rouge, Zoe Duzak, Capital Wellness Solutions, Mr. Robin, I believe, Paul Robin, Michael Robin, Darren Mayton with Willows, Sonia Sanders with Capital Wellness Solutions, Taylor Hall, Capital Wellness Solution, Danielle Fay, Capital Wellness Solutions, Michael, looks like Malin or Mailer, Capital Wellness, Chris Pugh with Willow Pharmacy, Seton Smith Jenkins with Greater New Orleans Drug Reduction Coalition, Dino Paternostro, Save Our Society from Drugs, Greg Morrison, Delta Med Center, Elizabeth Powers, Mary Sue Labrie, and Patrice Poire. We also have a white card from Ernest Leger, Commissioner of the ATC, present and will provide information if requested. The opponents, I have a stack of bills. I don't know if anyone here, if you want me to call the cards I received in order of those requesting to speak, or if there's someone who has 5 witnesses, if y'all have discussed and have witnesses to present. Seeing none, I will call them in the order I've received them. Justin McLean with Louisiana Harvest Company. Mr. McLean, if you want to come to the table. Paige Melanson with Hemp Association of Louisiana. And Daryl Schwest with Hemp Association of Louisiana. If y'all want to come to the table. And I'll let y'all decide amongst yourselves who's going to go first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Daryl Schwess. I'm the Executive Director of the Hemp Association of Louisiana, and I appreciate the dilemma that you're faced with today and the decision that you're going to make, and I hope to contribute in a positive way to that decision if we can. The Hemp Association... The Hemp Association of Louisiana has been active in trying to develop regulations and controls on the industry, and in fact, we had approached Representative Miller with regard to his bill and asked him to implement those. Because of the limited time, I'm not going to go into great detail on any of that, but I want to address just a few things. There is a history of legislation. I hear all of you loud and clear on your perception of what happened with the former speaker and what he said. They're telling me I need to speak louder or get closer. And I'm not going to try to explain that or address that to any great detail, other than to say that over the last 4 years, our industry has gone through a lot of changes. When it got changed in 22, it probably cost the industry near $500,000 to change packaging, to change sizes of gummies, to change the amount of THC contained in the gummies, and our industry bore the brunt of those changes. And we actually endorse those changes because we recognize that there is a need for regulation. I was born in Louisiana. I was raised in Louisiana. I was educated in Louisiana. I have kids here. I have grandkids here. I don't want anything out there that's going to hurt my family and my kids or yours. And that's pretty much the view of the members of our association. So we're not going to come to you and ask you to do something that's foolish. We live here. We're from here. And you're our representatives, and we respect the obligation that you have to do what you're going to do. That said, and what I do like is that this bill perfectly paints the question. Do we have consumable hemp products with THC or don't we? It's an absolute ban bill. And I think that's a decision you just have to make. I would hope that you don't ban it, because I think that we can regulate this industry and we can regulate these products and put them in commerce in a safe way and protect the hundreds and thousands of businesses that have invested thousands of dollars in this industry. 3,300 permits were issued by ATC to sell the products. That's 3,300 Louisiana businesses. Sales have grown from the 500,000 in 20 to over 33 million in 23. The industry is growing. There is an opportunity. If in fact you ban this, you're going to cost jobs. You're going to lose revenue, sales tax revenue, et cetera. And I see the red light going off. I'm gonna respect the wishes of the chair.
I promise you will. Thank you. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I promise you will too, Mr. Hammer, with this chair. Real quick, thank you for being here. And just to follow back up on the previous speaker, Dr. Hall, there is what I found on the internet. The VA does have some opposition to using marijuana as a form of clinical practice. But I assure you, the Department of or the Disabled American Veterans, the Veterans of Foreign War, and the National Institute of Health all are in support of cannabis and THC as a form of treatment for PTSD, particularly among veterans. And I look forward to continuing that conversation with you, but I just wanted to put that on the record. Mr. Hammer, can you tell me, are there any other states that has a regulation in place for THC? If so, how many?
Okay, is that to Mr. Schwest?
I'm sorry, what's the name?
Schwest.
Schwest. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My apologies.
Thanks.
Yes, there are multiple states. I don't have the count in front of me, but there are multiple states that do, in fact, regulate THC and hemp products. There are some states that have limited regulation and some states that are more tightly controlled. In Louisiana, we're limited to 8 milligrams per serving. We are not limited in how many servings we can have in a package, as was pointed out earlier. And if I might note, I'm confused about these products that I'm seeing up here, because technically this product should not be approved by LDH, and I don't know that the label was ever approved on this Delta 8 gummy, because it's 25 milligrams of Delta 8 THC. The limit is 8 per gummy. And so my question would be, on these products that are being shown, are they in fact approved by LDH on their label? And if they do not have label approval, why isn't ATC confiscating the products? Because our association would endorse that. If these products are illegal and shouldn't be in the marketplace, then we would want them removed.
I think that's a great point, and I don't have the answer to that. You can ask the author when he returns to the table, and I appreciate you pointing that out. I want to note, however, that I do agree with Mr. Mills, and I do agree with Ms. Clemens as it relates to their position on regulation, because I share that same position as well. I also share the concern that your products or your industry products are mostly marketed to lower income communities and communities of color. Can you speak to any regulation about that in other states? Because that really bothers me, and it really is a concern that young people, particularly African Americans and those who are athletes, as my colleague, Representative Fontenot, pointed out previously, I think it was last week, where these young people are taking these products and then they go for a scholarship and pop positive on the drug test. Can you speak to that, please?
Thank you, Rep. Knox. I'll go ahead and yield my time, Mr. Schwest, to let you answer Rep. Knox's question. But the one thing I want to say is I think you would agree with me that the medical marijuana program is highly regulated in this state. Is that correct?
I would say that it is highly regulated.
That's
yes, ma'am.
correct. And as I understand, you need a physician's recommendation for 5 milligrams of THC, medical marijuana, yet you can go in our gas stations, you can go in Rouse's, you can go anywhere and get a lot more than that in the hemp products. Is that correct?
I don't think that's exactly correct, ma'am. The way the medical marijuana programs works, as I understand it, you get a referral from a physician on an online interview.
A recommendation, that's correct.
It's a referral. There's no prescription. There's no recommendation on what to take, how much to take. They get the referral. They get the card. They go to the dispensary, and they get to select amongst their products, and they can buy 21,000 milligrams of THC every 14 days. Considering a half a gram marijuana cigarette, that would be the equivalent of 10 joints a day that can be purchased in a medical marijuana facility with a mere referral, no recommendation on dosage or how to use it.
And I saw a package the other day with 5,000 milligrams of hemp THC consumable. But thank you. Why don't you go ahead and answer Rep. Alonzo's questions, because I think it's pretty clear you and I don't agree on this topic. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And if I offended you, I apologize. It was not my intent.
Quite all right. I don't get easily offended. No problem. Thank you.
Representative Knox, I cannot intelligently address your question about these products being targeted to your community. I would hope that that's not the case. I would agree with you that none of these products should be marketed to children. Our association would agree with that, regardless of who they are or where they are.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Rep. Walters.
Thank you, Chair. So, colleagues, I have been sitting here reading over the Louisiana State Auditor's report, Legislative Auditor's report, and it says that LDH, and they are in charge of regulating the CHPs, and this is from March of 2023, and it says, as of March 2023, LDH has not yet removed these products from its list of registered products, despite an emergency rule that was effective January 20th of 2023. And so anyway, I have kind of been doing some reading, and if someone from the Department of Health is here, if you come to the table, I would appreciate it. However, I wonder if the answer is moving the license, regulate, inspect CHP products to another division, right? So either the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry or to Louisiana Office of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Control, since the breakdown seems to be with LDH. I know that we have changed leadership since January 2023, but I just wanted to definitely put this on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Walters. I don't see any more questions on the board for Rep. Wiley. Rep. Wiley is late on the button.
Thank you, Madam Chair and gentlemen. I've sat and listened and prepared to listen longer on this topic. Frankly, I come in predisposed to support this bill clearly. My background in the mid-'70s, somebody said, have you ever been young? I don't know. All right. I've always been old, it seems like. But in the 70s, I was a law enforcement officer, an investigator, and occasionally a narcotics officer. we watched then the proliferation of marijuana, particularly in our adolescents, and I think anybody in the clinical field, this may be the lady here that's in the treatment, I would suggest would agree that the adolescent body, the physiology, is very fragile. And the organ called the brain is much more fragile and easily compromised when you induce it with psychoactive drugs. And marijuana, tetrahydrocannabinol, is one of those drugs. And so we watched a whole generation of kids who walked around. This is not reefer madness. We saw it. And you folks who are my age saw it, all right? Saw these kids, and they dropped out. They totally lost interest in the normal things in life, etc. And so we got through that, okay? And then up comes the notion of medical marijuana, and we got through that because it was regulated and it made sense to the medical community, at least to some extent. And so then we get to the artificial marijuana, and that was hell to pay. I will tell you, there was heinous crimes committed, heinous. All right, this is not reefer madness. This is the truth as well on this experiment that you could buy over the counter. All right. So now I'm sitting here, and sir, with great respect as a fellow dad and pawpaw, you're sitting by 4 cans of lemonade that are 50 milligrams, as per the sponsor of this bill, that anybody can go and buy. And I'm just sorry I can't reconcile any rationalization of that over the counter, none whatsoever. So putting me down, respectfully or otherwise, is vehemently in favor of the elimination of the content of THC, 0. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Wiley. Rep. Fontenot.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Swess, you spoke about it only supposed to be 8 milligrams per. Is it per gummy, sir?
Per serving.
Per serving. And is it your association that governs that? Is it LDH? Who manages or oversees that is only 8 milligrams per serving?
LDH and enforced by ATC.
And how many members do you have in your association?
We have about 150 subscribers to our association at this point.
The gentleman at this association, Louisiana Harvest, is he part of your association?
No, sir.
So on his website, that's public, he has Frosty Max. He has 1,280 milligrams, and he only has 10 servings. That's 1,280 milligrams per serving advertised on his website. Is that legal or is that illegal?
Wait, so repeat those numbers again.
He has a product on his website right now. It says 1,280 milligrams of THC, and he only has 10 gummies in the pack, according to what's on the website. Is that currently within the law, or is that against the law?
If that is Delta 9 or Delta 8, and there are 10 gummies, and that's 125 milligrams per gummy, that would be against the law, and LDH should not have approved it.
Tell me about THCP, because his package says it only has 8 milligrams of THC. Of course, the labeling doesn't calculate correctly. What is THCP? Because he also advertises 8 milligrams of THC and 4 milligrams of THCP.
Yes, THCP is a homologue of a cannabinoid, and while it bears the name THC in it before the P, the Louisiana Department of Health made the decision that it's not THC, although it's 30 times stronger in potency than Delta 9. And they approved the product to be sold in the state of Louisiana. Our association specifically identified that product and some other homologs as something that should not be sold in Louisiana.
You saw the video that Senator Presley put up about the speaker said this could not make you get high.
Yes.
Do you believe it gets someone high?
Do I believe 2 18-wheeler loads will get you high? Yes, I do.
Do you believe that any of the gummies get you high?
Well,
that's a yes or no question, sir.
Well, the answer is at some point these products can get you high depending on how much of it you consume.
Do you believe that your organization solicits people to get high?
Excuse me?
Do you believe your organization, the people who sell this product, that they solicit people to get high?
Absolutely not.
All right, I want to show you this. This store opened up in my district about a mile from my house, and the name of it is Louisiana Sky High, and it's selling your product. You don't think they're soliciting people to get high, Mr. Swess?
You asked if members of my association did that, and they are not a member of our association.
Thank you, Rep. Fontenot. Thank you, Mr. Schwest. Mr. Schwest, let me do this. Rep. Knox, did you have a question for Mr. Schwest?
I did, but if I can't get a second bite, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that is my rule. There are no second bites in this committee. There haven't been since we started. If we could have, in follow-up to the questions by Rep. Fontenot, is Chair Bacala had pressed his button asking for ATC. We had Commissioner Ernest Leger. Okay. Good for Vilio to call him when he's not available. Mr. Leger, if you would stand by, Chairman Bacala had some questions to follow up on the questioning of Mr. Schwest and some of his statements, and Rep. Fontenot for you relative to enforcement. I'm sure if you could stand by, and that, of course, does not count towards the 5 for the opponents. Commissioner Leger filled out a white card and present and will provide information if requested. Mr. Schwest, if you could give up your seat since the board is clear for you. And we have the next 2 witnesses that we received cards and opposition wishing to speak, and I'm calling them in the order we received them. Is Joe Garrity, Crescent Distributing. So Mr. Garrity, now that's Commissioner Leger.
Good morning, Ernest Leger.
If you could hold up 1 second, Commissioner, we're waiting for Chair Bacala. Okay, go ahead, Rep. Knox. Why don't you do that while we wait for Chair Bacala? Go ahead, Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here. I have a question because it was raised about the lemonade at the table. Can you talk or speak to what is hard lemonade?
What is hard lemonade?
Hard lemonade.
I would assume a hard lemonade is a lemonade beverage with some spirit included that's sold over the counter pursuant to a valid Louisiana license.
That's exactly what it is. Is that regulated?
It is, yes, sir.
So to the concern about lemonade being laced or ingredient with THC, that's not out of the norm. Is that correct?
It's very much out of the norm, sir. With all respect, and I've been listening very intently to all of the testimony on both sides and to the entirety of the dais. Please understand that my testimony here is just to provide information. It is up to you as our elected officials to decide one way or another whether or not we as a people want to have this product available or these products available. I every day have to balance supporting an industry and ensuring an industry is fair with public safety, and this presents a daily challenge with respect to that. Right, a regular spiked lemonade or iced tea product or some similar product is by far, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, in my experience, easier to regulate than something like this. I was in Rouse's yesterday, and this is on the shelf in Rouse's. And while I don't have an opinion one way or the other as to whether or not it should be on the shelf, what I can tell you is it is legal. Our agents would go in and not cite this business at all for having this product on the shelf as part of our regulatory scheme because it complies with Louisiana law. And as much as this one can, if you look at it, it says it's 12 servings. Mm-hmm. It's 50 milligrams, but it's 12 servings. I don't approve the labels. I don't approve the product. I don't approve what's in the product. We simply have, as part of the current regulatory structure, the ability to go in and to compare and ensure that that product's label has been approved by LDH, and if it has, then it's legal, and there's nothing that we can do from a regulatory structure.
Thank you. And just to clarify, when I said it's out of the norm, it's not out of the norm for a flavored beverage, such as a lemonade, such as hard mics, to be ingredient with an alcohol or fermented.
Representative Knox, I've known you for a long time and certainly respect you as a person, your military service, you as being knowledgeable with respect to everything that you do.
Yeah, I'm here to be enlightened.
On this point, however, it's different, right?
Oh, that's what I want to
Well,
know.
it's different because
Thank
even
you. Thank you, Commissioner Leger. I'm going to let Chair Bacala, where time is out with Rep. Knox, 3 minutes. I'll let Chair Bacala follow up with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Leger, how long have you been with ATC?
on my 9th year, so I've been 3 as commissioner.
Okay, and during that period of time, you've seen the product not being legal to the product being in its current status, correct?
Yes, sir.
You kind of touched upon this, but do you think there are packaging abuses, retail abuses, and if you can kind of speak to the difficulty, you've touched upon it, but is it even a statute that's possible, relatively speaking, to enforce? I'm talking about a serving. I mean, can we regulate that? Can we expect that a gummy bear would be 3 servings, so nip off a third of it?
What I can testify to, not being a person who uses the product, is what a reasonable person might assume, right?
Or
I would assume that a reasonable person, this is, I don't know, 12 fluid ounces, the size of a Coca-Cola, a regular beverage. A reasonable person, in my opinion only, I'm not a scientist, would be prepared to drink a soda. A reasonable person would be prepared to ingest a gummy, not a half a gummy. That's just my opinion.
I'll share my opinion, and I would. Is the packaging basically a scam? Everybody knows that's a serving, but if I label it as 50 servings, then I'm compliant. But everybody knows that's a serving.
I'm not going to comment one way or another whether it's a scam.
Oh, come on.
What I can comment is exactly what I said previously. Would a reasonable person assume that a serving is a can? I think so, yes, in my opinion.
If a gummy has 3 times the limit, would anybody ever assume that gummy isn't a single serving or a partial serving? I mean, I don't know anybody who's one gummy of anything.
I'm also a lawyer, so what I will say is the person purchasing that product probably is very much aware of what they're purchasing, how much they paid for it, and the experience they
When you say that product was on the shelf at Rouse's, on what shelf?
It's on an end cap in the alcohol section.
Okay, so it's
which is also kind of a little concerning, in as much as the statute specifically says that that the THC component, CBD, shall not be included in an alcoholic product. This is not an alcoholic product.
But it's in the alcohol section.
It's close.
Okay, and if I wanted to buy that product, right? What is there a special restriction? Is that treated like a Coca-Cola at the checkout, or is it show your ID?
Currently, it's treated like an alcoholic product where you show your ID and ensure that you're over 21 of age, and you can walk out with it today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair Bacala. I see the board clear for Commissioner. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Garrity, Joe Garrity, if you want to come to the table, you would be number 4. We have Mr. Melanson, and is it Justin McLean?
Yes.
You can decide between the two of you which one wants to speak first.
I'll go first. One moment, please. Good morning, esteemed members of the legislature. I am here to express my strong opposition to Senate Bill 237. This bill presents several concerning implications that could negatively impact Louisiana's hemp community and addresses child safety concerns in a misleading manner. First, let's discuss the unfair impact on the hemp community. The hemp industry has been a significant contributor to our state's economy. In 2023, the U.S. hemp market was valued at approximately $4.6 billion, with Louisiana capturing a substantial share. Our state's hemp industry has created over 2,000 licensed stores and thousands of jobs, with projections showing potential growth to 5,000 jobs within the next 5 years, if allowed to develop without undue regulatory burdens. Hemp is not just a crop. It's an opportunity for innovation and development. The global industry hemp market is expected to reach $26.6 billion by 2025, growing at a compound annual rate of 24.6%. Louisiana has the potential to be at the forefront of this green revolution, but SB 237 could hinder that by stifling innovation and development. Additionally, there is a 3% excise tax on hemp products that directly funds early childhood development programs. This tax revenue is crucial. Losing it due to the decline of the hemp industry would add to the list of unfortunate economic events Louisiana has faced, harming our youngest and most vulnerable citizens. It is also important to note that the hemp products will remain for sale in neighboring states, cutting off our hemp industry's revenue stream that would be economic suicide, as it would drive consumers and businesses to cross state lines to purchase these products, resulting in a significant loss on local revenue. Now, let's address misleading claims regarding child safety. One of the primary justifications of SB 237 is the claim that children are getting sick from THC products. However, this concern is based on misleading information. Current laws already prohibit the sale of THC products to minors, and retailers are required to verify the age of their customers. Incidents of children accessing these products are extremely rare and usually involve illegal activities that would not be addressed by Senate Bill 237. Furthermore, the data used to support the claims that children are getting sick often includes incidents involving synthetic cannabinoids, which are not part of the regulated hemp market. A 2022 report from the National Poison Data System indicates that 75% of pediatric exposure to cannabinoids involves synthetic products, not legal hemp-derived THC. Conflating these two issues misleads the public and policymakers about the true nature of the problem. Finally, we must not fall subject to the fear-mongering politicians who want to make exaggerated claims in order to pander to the public.
Thank you, Mr. McLean, and thank you for the great revolution. I do not see any questions on the board from Mr. McLean. Rep. Fontenot.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'd like to go back to your website and the difference between THC and THCP.
Yes.
What is the difference?
Honestly, I'm not a scientist. I don't have a scientific background in this product. I know it is a legal product that is for sale in the state of Louisiana.
As a fear-mongering legislator and a person that you sell, don't you think you should know what you're selling to people?
Well, I wasn't able to finish my speech. It didn't say legislator, it said politicians. It wasn't referring to any legislation.
Have you ever looked up what THCP is?
I have briefly studied over it. Have you?
No, I haven't. I'm Googling it now. Okay. And the Medical Association says it's 33% more potent than THC.
Uh-huh.
So when you're selling only 8 milligrams of THC per dosage, but an additional 4 milligrams of THCP, do you believe you're misleading the consumer as to what they're buying?
No, I'm not. Because people should be informed consumers. You shouldn't buy something that you're not aware of what you're purchasing. Respectful.
Do you believe if you take THCP that you test positive for tetrahydrocannabinol?
I don't know. I have no knowledge. I've never tested for THCP. I don't know personally.
Do you solicit your product for people to get high?
No.
Do you believe the industry does?
No. I believe it has effects. And would you define high for me, please?
To be honest with you, sir, I never even smoked a cigarette in my life. So I've always wondered what all this fuss is about.
Right. We mentioned high multiple times, so I'm trying to figure out what exactly you mean when you say high, because it seems very like it's detrimental. So I'm trying to figure out what.
I've spent 20 years as an undercover police officer, so let me give you my experience.
And you never got high. Okay.
Never got high.
Mr. McLean, I'm going to caution you. Your responses are not in keeping with decorum in this committee, so I'm going to caution you one time to please be respectful to the members of this body.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I believe that high is a hallucinogenic, a product that alters your everyday thinking. And I believe that science tells us that because when you test positive for THC, any amount of THC, and you get in a fatal car crash, sir, you go to prison for 30 years. You disagree with that?
I believe that is the current law.
You think it's okay to sell that product that anyone can take one and kill someone and spend 30 years in prison?
No, I don't believe people should be consuming this product and then driving on it.
Does the label of any of your products suggest you shouldn't drive when you consume it?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Rep. Knox requesting to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sir.
I'm sorry, Justin McLean.
Mr. McLean. even if someone were to buy the product to get high, what's the problem with that?
Legally or I'm sorry, what's
Legally or otherwise, people buy products if they want to get high. They buy alcohol if they want to get high.
Yeah, so I mean, on an individual liberty, I believe that people should have the right to access what they want. However, there still needs to be regulations so that society can be safe. So I do agree that there needs to be regulations, as there are in place over this industry. But as far as if somebody wants to alter their state of mind, if that's what you're referring to by being high, then I would say that yes, people should have the right, if they wish to.
Thank you, sir. I don't get high. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I drink wine every now and then, but I drink it for socialization, not to get high. But in any case,
may I ask a question respectfully?
Sir?
May I ask a question respectfully? I'm sorry, I'm not sure
No,
the
Mr.
formality.
McLean, we're not here to answer questions from witnesses. Thank you.
But in any case, can you speak to me what the difference in highness would be from your product or any other alcoholic product? Is there a difference in the high or in inebriated state or altered state? I'm just trying to understand it.
I find all substances have a unique high, if you want to call it a high. If I drink an energy drink, I'm high. If I drink too much caffeine, I'm high. So yes, these do have a different high compared to alcohol, but I don't see where it's relevant.
Would you agree that this type product with the type high that you're familiar with, would you agree that it should be regulated?
I agree that it should be regulated, and I believe it also is currently regulated.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Knox, Rep. Walters.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. You mentioned briefly about neighboring states who have legalized THC, I guess, to some degree. Can you share with me those states? Because I live 12 minutes from Texas, and so I do have a concern about industry in Louisiana.
So I'm not 100% sure of the laws in Texas, but I'm pretty sure that you can still buy THC products at most smoke shops and different places where they're allowed to be sold. As far as Mississippi is concerned, Mississippi tried to pass a bill recently. I believe it was House Bill 1676, and it claimed that the same thing, that hemp was dangerous and that it needed to be taken off the streets and it didn't need to be accessible by the public. But the bill was shot down and died on the floor because it came to find out that they were, at the same time they were saying it was dangerous, they were saying only medicinal dispensaries should be allowed to be able to sell it. And they saw through it and they shot it down on the floor. So Mississippi, you can still buy THC products in Mississippi. Texas, you can buy them. I believe Arkansas, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Walters. Mr. McLean, I don't see any more members having questions for you. If you want to switch seats with the last witness who we'll hear from the opponents, and that's Jacob Landry with Urban South Brewing, and Mr. Melanson, you're up.
My name's Paige Melanson. I'm president of Louisiana Hemp Extractors. I'm just going to speak on, I feel like I'm in an interview for a job. I was, at least in 2019, and you guys gave me this job. We opened one of the largest manufacturing facilities in the country right here in a small town in Leonville, Louisiana. And we went to work, and we created some jobs, and we're proud of it. And I feel like I'm being fired right now. And I want you guys to come with me and fire my employees when we leave here, if you choose to do that. And I'm having a hard time with this because we follow the rules. We follow regulations. This is a federally approved product. We've regulated it by the state. We're endorsing regulations more. You can go to Texas and you can get whatever you want. You can get it online. You're going to deny jobs. You're going to deny tax revenue. And you're really personally offending me as a Louisiana citizen who works hard every day to create jobs for people. And I just want you to know that.
Thank you, Mr. Melanson. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Melanson, I appreciate your comments, particularly as a business owner myself. I think it's not fair to penalize law-abiding entrepreneurs their right to have a livelihood and contribute to this great state of Louisiana. For my own edification, I'm trying to understand because I don't smoke, I don't do hemp. In the bill on page 4, it says consumable hemp product that does not contain any THC. Can you get high just off hemp, or does the THC is what makes you high? That's what I'm.
First of all, hemp naturally contains THC. That's it by definition.
That's my appreciation.
As an extractor, I don't know how I extract hemp without THC. I don't know how I operate. I mean, I'd love somebody like maybe Mr. Presley to explain to me.
Thank you, because I was very confused on that as well, not knowing anything about hemp or THC. So it's your testimony that hemp contains the THC already.
Yes, sir.
And in order for you to stay in business, if this bill goes into effect, you would have to enter into some kind of process to take something out of a product that is naturally in the product?
That's correct.
And so if that is the case, then you indicated that you would have to go out of business because you don't have that means or capacity to do what this bill would require.
I think it's scientifically impossible.
So then, therefore, this bill is to basically ban an entire industry in the state of Louisiana.
That's correct.
Would you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your testimony.
Rob Fontenot.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Melanson, I really don't know. What is the difference between CBD and THC?
Well, both cannabinoids come from the hemp plant, and it's just like we grow different varieties of soybeans. Some are or maybe even corn, sweet corn that we eat, and maybe corn for crops or for livestock. Sorry, I'm very nervous about this, and I'm very passionate about it, so I'm stumbling. But so you can grow different hemp plants to produce different major cannabinoids. When it first came out, it was predominantly produced with CBD, and now they've made varieties where CBG, CBN, and other cannabinoids are predominantly shown in the hemp plant. But all the while, it has to stay under 0.3% Delta-9, and on our state, 1% total THC.
Now, this bill doesn't prohibit the sale of CBD, correct?
No, but you can't get it out the plant. It comes from the same plant that has THC in it.
So you can't, didn't you just say they were used to sell a product of just CBD and then it made THC?
No, I'm speaking about the plant that is predominantly made to grow the majority of CBD or other cannabinoids, but it always produces a minor amount of THC.
So there's no product on the market it's just CBD?
You can then take the plant. Me as an extractor, I would have to take that plant and isolate it, and then we still can't guarantee that it doesn't have traces amount of THC. So I'd have to tell your law enforcement guy, even if he's taking isolated CBD product that says THC free, I would have to caution him on that he would probably fail a piss test.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Melanson, when this great revolution was sold to this body 2 years ago, it was my understanding that we needed this. It was a great opportunity, economic opportunity for Louisiana farmers. Is that correct?
I didn't understand it to be just farmers. Yes, I understood it to be an industry.
But do you agree that it has been said and continues to be said that it's an economic opportunity for Louisiana farmers here in Louisiana?
I presume it could be, if.
Okay. And are you aware of the statistics that actually show that couldn't be further from the truth? That the plants are not being grown and sold in Louisiana? Are you aware of that?
I would disagree with that because we are working with some companies to grow some hemp here and ship it out of state for commerce.
So let me tell you what the real story is. A total of 295 pounds were grown at a value of $69,000. 295. That's the 2023 Louisiana hemp production from Louisiana, the AG Commissioner report. So hardly the boom for Louisiana farmers.
How many pounds? 29?
295.
Ma'am, I extract tens of thousands of pounds at my facility in Louisiana.
So
I'd
that
question
that
those.
report's just wrong.
I would question it. I could prove it otherwise.
Thank you. All right. I don't see the board is clear for Mr. Mawson. So next is Mr. Garrity, I believe. Mr. Garrity, good morning.
Esteemed legislators, I appreciate the opportunity to address you and some of the claims that have been made thus far today, which are not only inaccurate but misleading, and I believe in some cases deliberately so. I manufacture Crescent 9 THC seltzer that includes this 50 milligram lemonade that has been put forth before you today. I welcome any questions regarding this product, why we sell it, how we make it, and how it is regulated. I'll start off by saying that the claims that we are not a heavily regulated hemp market are completely inaccurate. In fact, we are probably the most regulated hemp market in the entire country. We test every single product that is on the approved list for hundreds of pesticides, heavy metals, industrial solvents, cannabinoids, and more. In fact, our products are tested more than the food you eat at grocery stores. Baby food is more likely to contain heavy metals or lead than this product. There are multiple studies that show that. Secondly, the idea that by prohibiting these products from being sold in a regulated, licensed, and taxable market in Louisiana will somehow stop the consumption of them is false. What it will do is drive consumers back to the black market, to drug dealers, who sell many other products besides THC. Weed is often called a gateway drug. It's not because when you smoke weed, you decide to go do cocaine or heroin. It's because the drug dealer that you're purchasing it from offers those as well. Secondly, on that point, stopping the sale of these products in Louisiana will not only cease the ability of Louisiana to regulate them and benefit from the taxation that is coming rapidly from one of the fastest growing industries in the state, but it will drive consumers to purchase these products online where there is no regulation. And I might add, Senator Presley has had nothing in his bill that allows for the state to regulate the sale of these products from out-of-state providers. You can go online right now and purchase products that far exceed the THC regulations that this body has set forth without any problem, without any real age verification, and to no benefit of anybody in Louisiana. To ban these products, specifically THC, would cause the loss of hundreds, if not thousands of jobs, close hundreds of small businesses, and cripple the desire of entrepreneurs like myself to continue starting businesses in this state, which ultimately benefit us. I will close by saying that consumers have the right to choose what they consume. Your job is not to kill an industry, but to further grow and regulate and ensure the safety of those products so consumers have the choice to do what they want in the great state of Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Garrity. Chair Bacala.
Pass for just a moment.
Thank you, Chair. Rep. Walters.
Thank you, Chair. Quick question. So if we go from 0.3% to 0%, what type of products would or could you sell?
CBD isolate products, which was mentioned before, when the hemp plant goes through an extraction process, you can pull specific cannabinoids from it, CBD being one of them. Through that process, you're able to get what's referred to as an isolate. That is a pure pure CBD product, which can then be normally added to a tincture, a topical, or potentially a food and beverage product to ensure that there's zero THC. Those products make up probably less than 5% of the overall hemp market in this state.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Walters. Rep. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Garrett, thank you for being here and for your testimony. It provided me a little more insight and clarification, particularly as it relates to the product that's on the table. For my own edification, can you speak to and enlighten me as to when we're talking about milligrams to get high? In the opening statement by the initial speakers, they said 5 milligrams can get you high, and many of the products that are on the shelf are 50 and above. Can you provide some context and clarity for that, please?
Yes, sir. Similar to alcohol, but not exactly the same. THC and what one would refer to as being high is a spectrum. Someone who has consumed cannabis for years at high levels will drink 5 milligrams and feel effectively nothing. They might be able to drink, we have consumers who drink 50 milligrams and say they need to drink multiple of these to get high. Someone who's never consumed a THC product before would more than likely pick up one of our lower potency products and find them comparable to a beer, perhaps 2 beers. Potency, when it comes to CBD and tolerance, is different than alcohol, but it can be sort of compared. I would expect that someone who consumes cannabis daily, but not all day, could consume a 5 to 10 milligram product, perhaps multiple, without losing control of themselves or finding themselves in a situation that they would rather not be in.
Thank you. And could you put in context that we currently sell alcohol at 80 proof, 100 proof? How does this relate to the alcohol that we sell currently and that is regulated?
Alcohol is significantly, infinitely in some ways, more toxic than THC. There is a clear level of alcohol that a consumer would ingest, but that would kill them. There exists no real amount of THC that one could consume that would kill them from the toxicity alone. And that alone makes these products very different. I'm not suggesting you should consume 10,000 milligrams of THC to find out, but the reality is that THC is a far safer product than alcohol, given the toxicity levels alone.
Thank you for that clarity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rep. Knox. Rep. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, where is your product manufactured at?
We manufacture our products in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Cincinnati.
Not Louisiana.
Louisiana, if you haven't noticed, has a desire to disrupt our industry, and investing the significant amount of money that we would need to in this state to manufacture here, when every year we come against opposition from the legislation that could potentially cripple us and destroy us, is, frankly speaking, a terrible business decision. Could we get some, if we were to get some certainty that this industry would continue to exist here in a stable and predictable fashion, we would be happy to invest heavily in this market to manufacture here.
I appreciate you answering my question. I just want to know where you manufactured it at.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrity, for your enlightening testimony. Rep. Ventrella.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Sir, I have a couple of questions for you. The drink that you have there in front of you, can you explain that? And is it currently legal?
So, for full transparency, this product right here, as it exists, is not allowed. This does not contain a serving container. We distribute with all of our products a small serving container, and we were recently asked by the state to ensure that that serving container was affixed prior to us sending it to our retailers and our distributors. What we've done is we've put it in a box, which will be available next week, with a single shot container put in the middle with exactly 1 fluid ounce to assure that every consumer has the opportunity to measure their dosage properly and according to the regulations that the state has presented us.
Do you have businesses currently operating in Louisiana?
I do.
Okay, and that drink that's in front of you, are you familiar with the other hemp regulation bill that's made its way to the Senate?
I am.
Are you familiar? Is that drink banned under that bill?
I believe this product would be disallowed in Louisiana if the Miller bill proceeds.
Okay. I just, I've gotten a lot of emails. I mean, like hundreds of emails out of my district, specifically wanting me to be in favor of this bill. It's, I appreciate the debate. I'm listening to the debate, but to my constituents back home, and when I say literally hundreds, if not thousands, have emailed me to be in favor of this bill, what would you say to them?
I would simply point out again that the existence of THC and the problems with people abusing cannabis existed long before the legislation took up the admirable task of trying to regulate and benefit Louisiana. When I was in high school, I don't know if you've all had the same experience, but it was far easier to procure illegal drugs than it was alcohol, because alcohol has a framework for where it can be sold. Illegal drugs are illegal, and they will be found by people who want to get them.
And my last question, are you concerned in any way? Is there any potency? Because I've heard a lot of different things about CBD. Is it potential that if you had too much CBD, you could have some negative side effects or potentially even death?
I've never heard of a death being caused by CBD or THC alone. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I cannot speak to the general dangers that those substances offer, but I can tell you that every substance we sell is sold to people over the age of 21 at an ATC licensed location. They're approved by the Louisiana Department of Health. They have warning labels, and we do our absolute best to ensure that these products do not find their way into the hands of children or others who may abuse them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrity, where are y'all extracting the hemp? Where's that occurring?
We generally procure our hemp from a variety of sources. It would be hard for me to say offhand. I do not handle the procurement itself.
Not from Louisiana, though, right?
Generally not. The regulations in this state make the farming, as you've noted, almost impossible, and the extraction significantly more expensive than it is elsewhere.
So tens of thousands of pounds of hemp are being shipped into the state, correct?
I cannot speak to that.
Who regulates the interstate delivery of the amount of hemp that's coming into the state?
I cannot speak to that, but hemp is a federally legal substance under the Farm Bill, and I believe that interstate commerce is guaranteed as well as transport.
How do we know it's not marijuana being shipped?
Again, I cannot speak to that. I do not personally ship any hemp flower.
Where is it being tested?
We use accredited laboratories in numerous states. Louisiana does not have one that is competitive with the others. I would love to test and do more business here.
Rep. Fontenot.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Sir, do you sell any product that doesn't have THC in a drink? You sell just CBD products?
We do sell CBD products, however, not in beverage form, as the industry has shown nationally to not be viable.
So you're saying that you couldn't be in business unless you sold a product with THC?
In this state, that is largely correct.
Now, you made a reference that if this product was banned, THC was banned, that people would be forced to go to the black market. Are you saying that they would be forced to go buy marijuana?
Well, no one's forced to do anything, but if you wish to continue consuming a product that you enjoy, your options are extremely limited if the products are no longer allowed for sale legally.
Does that testimony tend to make people believe that people are buying this to get a high?
Absolutely. People are buying this to get high.
Now, when we talk about alcohol and marijuana or THC, what is the legal limit for THC where when someone would not test positive or they would not fail a drug test involving an auto crash? Do we have a legal limit?
We do not. THC is a very difficult substance to test for the present level of impairment. As such, it is very difficult to regulate whether or not you're able to drive on it. What I can tell you is that there are laws that pertain currently to operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, which do not apply purely to alcohol. There are numerous tests, and as a former law enforcement officer, I'm sure you're aware, that can allow for a police officer or state trooper to determine intoxication.
Now, the last question I have for you. Besides the product that you sell right there in front of you, are you aware of any other product that's sold over the counter without a prescription that will cause someone to go to prison if they kill someone besides your product?
Yes, sir, alcohol.
No, that's a legally sold product. THC could be in two forms. When we test THC, the lab doesn't know if it came from your drink or if it came from the guy on the street. And your own testimony says we know there's a legal limit to alcohol. We know nationally it's 0.08 grams percent. THC has no known limits. Any test positive would send someone to prison, correct?
That's really not correct, actually.
And what is the correct answer? You saying someone can test positive?
I have about 45 seconds, and there is significant nuance to that question.
So you're saying someone can test positive for THC and not be convicted of vehicle homicide?
That is, again, a very complicated question. However, the simple presence of THC in the event that a drug test is administered after a fatal accident is not the sole purpose for putting somebody in prison for a fatal accident.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrity. The board is clear. Mr. Landry, welcome.
Good morning, committee. Jacob Landry, owner of Urban South Brewery in New Orleans. We're the state's second largest brewery, and we also produce a consumable hemp seltzer. That's one of the best-selling seltzers in the state. It's carried in Rouse's and Bromart and most independent grocery stores around the state. It's exported to states all across the Southeast. It's legal. It's federally legal, and it's legal across every Gulf South state, including north of Tennessee, and many states far and wide, like Massachusetts and Minnesota. This category started in 2018 with the Farm Bill. It's evolved a lot since then. We've watched it since then as a way to diversify our business, and we've waited. We've waited while brands were built and blew up in states like Minnesota. We waited and watched Louisiana regulate the industry in a really proactive way. We have some of the best regulations across the Gulf South currently. Dustin Miller's bill also strengthens those regulations. And finally, after waiting an additional legislative session last year, seeing the regulations in place and be only slightly modified, we decided to invest about $100,000 to get into the industry. We hired people. We manufacture in-state. We're maybe a foolish one to do that because we also have some of the worst brewery laws in the country. But we do it all in New Orleans. And as you can imagine, as a small business owner, like you can't operate in an environment where the rules change every year. And like I said, we were patient. We were very patient before making those investments. Our products are mainstream. They're being consumed around the country. In other states, other brands are being consumed. Our customers are school teachers, they're grandmothers, they're people who want to stop consuming alcohol. They want something else to relax at the end of a hard day teaching kids. They want something that will allow them to get off their sleeping medication, something that is more natural and has a more natural feeling. And so I implore you, there are ways to regulate it. We're trying to be proactive. There are ways to say you can only put 8 milligrams per container instead of per serving. There are many ways to regulate this. We have an example of what prohibition does. It happened in alcohol, and it created an illicit industry where no tax revenue was collected, where rot gut whiskey was making people blind. And that's exactly what can happen. It is so easy to ship these gummies. There are manufacturers all over the country. It takes no effort whatsoever to order from their websites and have it shipped here, and there's no way to regulate that. So giving a regulated way for people to purchase these in Rouse's, in their local communities, and putting safeguards around there is really where we need to be. If we prohibit this altogether, and I will say that Senator Presley promised in the Agriculture Committee that this would not be the bill that gets passed, that there would be compromise. And there's been no compromise up to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Did you say all natural? Are you telling me there's no synthetic process that goes into the manufacture of these products?
We use Delta 9 THC, and there is a process by which that's converted through the hemp extraction. But it is
a synthetic process, not all natural.
It is not a synthetic product. It's coming from the hemp plant.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. Rep. Cox.
Good to see you, Mr. Landry.
See you.
So it's been 1 year. You're doing a seltzer that's not a beer, or
correct? No alcohol.
No
we also make alcoholic seltzers, but this THC product is no alcohol.
So it's been 1 year.
It's been since December.
Oh, okay. So you don't really know what percentage of your business.
I mean, it's growing rapidly. It grows month over month. It represents. It's become about our top 5 SKU. In terms of top 5 unit that we sell beyond our top selling beers.
Good. It's I was hoping somebody like Mr. Landry would testify at this time, Madam Chairman. I'd like to offer an amendment to Senator Presley's bill. They're on page 3, lines 15 and 16. We just delete those lines regarding any beverage containing any THC.
Mr. Gonzalez, do you have that amendment?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Members, this is an amendment that originated here in committee being offered by Representative Cox. And so let me take you to page 3, lines 15 and 16. That's under 1482, consumable hemp products. And like Rep. Cox said, it would just be taking out B1 from the bill. So the language that no person shall process, sell, or offer for sale any beverage containing any THC, that would be removed from the bill, and there would also be a corresponding technical amendment to address that. And that's
Thank
what
you.
it does.
Rep. Cox offers an amendment. The chair objects. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Representative Villio?
No.
No. Representative Adams? Representative Bacala? No. Representative Boyer?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Cox?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Fontenot?
No.
No. Representative Horton? No. Representative Knox?
Yes.
Yes. Representative LaFleur?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Moore? Representative Ventrella? Representative Walters?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Wiley?
No.
No. 5 yeas, 6 nays.
That motion fails. Thank you. Rep Cox, Rep Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Landry, thank you for being here. It was referenced earlier about constituents. My constituents have contacted me to be in favor of this industry. And not only that, so have business owners. As a business owner myself, I'm really confused and perplexed as to what we're doing as a state. My understanding and appreciation was that the governor wanted this state to be more business friendly. This bill does the opposite. It was noted earlier that not a whole lot of manufacturing is going on in this state, primarily because there's no stability. There's no certainty. And I don't know if any rational business person would want to bring a business in an unstable, uncertain climate. I love this state of Louisiana. I love it so much I moved back here. I love it so much I ran for office. And as a business person, I cannot fathom this rationale. A rationale in which you're going to shut businesses down, lose employees, and still have a product accessible outside the state. Because as you noted previously, we can't regulate what happens outside of Louisiana. So if customers want the product, they're just gonna go get it offline or across the state line. And I don't know how that is helpful to our economy. I don't know how it's helpful to your business. It makes no sense to me. And I'm using this time just to elaborate on the lack of rationale that we sometimes have here in this body. And I can respect and appreciate many aspects as to why certain people would vote against this bill. And I made that quite clear because I do feel as though there's a certain level of the industry that markets a certain or targets a certain clientele. That's my personal view. Having said that, I don't think any of that cannot be fixed. And it seems to me that you and previous speakers, even those who don't agree with you, would agree more regulation is needed. And for me, that's the great compromise. If you are opposed to anything about this product, there is compromise to regulate it in a way that would be a win-win for those who don't want it marketed to a certain group like I do, or age group, for those who think the milligram is too high, for those who just don't want it sold in certain locations. There is an opportunity where we can reach a balance and a compromise rather than banning an entire industry, running businesses out of the state, putting people on the employment line in the state of Louisiana. I just don't get it as a business person. I don't get why anyone would want to take that position. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Landry, where are you getting your hemp flower?
We actually purchased from Louisiana hemp extractors.
Thank you. Rep Walters.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Landry, you were in a quick exchange with Chair Billio over synthetic versus, I guess, a natural process. Can you elaborate more on, I guess, what's synthetic processing versus what's natural? I'm trying to understand.
All of the cannabinoids are being drawn from the natural hemp plant. And then there is a process whereby there's THC separated from those other cannabinoids. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing synthetically added to it. This isn't synthetic marijuana that was referenced earlier that was a massive problem in the state. This is a natural hemp plant from which all of these are being extracted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rep Walters. Thank you, Mr. Landry. Thank you, Mr. Garrity. Senator Presley, I'll read the red cards in opposition into the record while you prepare to close on your bill. I have 67 red cards in opposition. It looks like Angel Dell, Terry Tolan, Christy Abear, Blaine Jennings, Delvin Bro, Nicholas Selby, Regina Tundal, Eric Becker, Bill Richard, Dwayne Duggs, Bruce Riley, Thomas Benoit, Sarah Heron, head of sales of Indigo, Brad Canova, Eldon Rogelio. It looks like Karen McLean, Eric Sundstrom, Anna Jensen, Ken Jervy, Ava Drennan, Helen Lewis, Natalia Matalano, Jason Ransom, Preston Finch, Carrie Koch, Jeffrey Wells, Contessa Solomon, Colin Avraw, Caitlin Christofferson, Lindsay Smith, Ariana Cabrera, Paul, I'd say it looks like, I don't know, Clavinol, Allison Stodd, Joshua Katzenstein, Jimmy Cramen, Holly Chapman, Sarah Harlan, Patrick Bruno, Ronald Marshall, Kara Long, Philip Colhings, Jessica Starnes, Kevin Caldwell, Keegan Marcel, Brett Trahan, Scott Kirkpatrick, Jeremy Lemoyne, Asad Sheknan, Brian Bollier, Adam Peak, Leanne Pearson, Stephen Gibbs, Johnny Koch, Brittany Sherlin, Adam Ducote, Helena Robinson, Chanel, Debbie Daniel, Celestine, Natasha Muse, Claudette Arsenault, Chico Yancey, Talita Hayes, Diane Williams, C. Arsenault, Keidra Williams, and Deborah Haynes Johnson. Senator, if you want to close on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members, and I appreciate the debate, the lively debate. That's part of this process. You saw the video when we started this debate today, talking about how you cannot get high. The truthful testimony from the second to last speaker is that people are buying these products to get high. I believe that we need to have regulation of natural THC products, which is what we have with the medical marijuana program in this state. Again, tax dollars have been invested in that process, and we have a process in place for the regulation of these products that are given with a recommendation by a medical physician, which is important as well. We previously, in this legislative body, prior to any of our time here in this committee, I believe Francis Thompson was here because he was here for everything, corrected a wrong with bath salts. We had legalized it. We realized the harm that was done by legalizing it, and we decided not to. I put this in the same category. There are 26 states that prohibit the sale of synthetic THC hemp. Several states have worked to close the loophole that we're closing today, hopefully, with this legislation continuing to move forward. Those are Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Texas. 21 states' attorneys general have urged a course correction to close the loophole on intoxicating synthetic hemp. And I urge this committee to do the same. Members, what we say in this body is important. What we were told in a direct response to a question on the floor of the House of Representatives in 2022 is something that was not truthful and something that we must correct. And with respect to 12 serving sizes, servings in one can of THC seltzer, and adding a shot that allows a person to go and decide how much of a can that once you open has to be thrown away, as any of us have opened a can of Coca-Cola in the past and throw it away after a couple hours, is not a good action. It's not something that we should be doing, and it's something that we need to do a course correction on. I urge your passing of this legislation, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Senator. We have a motion by Representative Horton to pass Senate Bill 237 favorably. Do we have an objection? Objection by Rep. Walters. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Villio?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Adams? No. Representative Bacala? Yes. Yes. Representative Boyer?
No.
No. Representative Cox? Yes. Yes. Representative Fontenot?
Yes.
Yes. Representative Horton? Yes. Representative Knox? No. Representative LaFleur? No. Representative Moore? Representative Ventrella? Yes. Representative Walters? No. Representative Wiley? Yes. 7 yeas, 5 nays.
Let Senate Bill 237 be reported favorably. Thank you, Sen-